What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for The Mandalorian Season 2. This is Episode 3 of Season 2, technically Chapter 11, which is the Heiress, I think it was called. And with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
Yeah. I thought this was like one of the best episodes of the season so far. Just because there's a lot of lore and a lot of fan service put into this episode, which, like, you know, I pretty much geeked out as to what happened, like, you know, in the middle of this episode. Yeah. But, you know, of course, this takes place immediately after, well, sometime after the last episode, where the Mando ship, the Razor Crest, is heavily damaged after what happened in the last episode. So, of course, it got so damaged to the point where it can't really descend into the atmosphere safely. So it has to pretty much, like, I don't know, make a dangerous dive onto the planet itself before burning into the atmosphere. So he does manage to, you know, I guess safely get down to the planet, but before the engines gave out, and he ended up landing in the water anyway.
Yeah.
But, you know, of course, like, you know, they managed to get it out, and then he asks one of the mechanics of the port to help, well, somehow repair the damn thing. Like, for, I guess he paid 1,000 credits to the mechanic.
Yeah, we see more of the Mon Calamari in this episode, I think is what their race is called.
Yeah. Yeah, the Mon Cala people. So he goes into, I guess, one of the inns of the planet, and he gets directed to a quarren, which is like those the squid face kind of aliens in the show. So the quarren claims that he can bring Mando to one of the Mandalorian coverts by, you know, which he says, like, it'll take him a few hours to sail, you know, to a certain location. So they get into to that location. Well, no. They're on the boat, of course, and then the quarren, like, tricks the Mandalorian by feeding, like, well, the child to, like, I guess, a creature that they were hiding underneath the boat, and they try to drown the Mandalorian underneath. Then all of a sudden, like, this is where I, you know, completely geeked out. Bo-Katan and 2 other Mandalorians come to his rescue.
Yeah, I know who Bo-Katan is, but I don't really know too much about her other than she's from, I think it was like Clone Wars and Rebels.
Yeah, she's a pretty significant character of the show, which is of course, like, you know, Dave Filoni created this character for the show. Well, for the Clone Wars and Rebels, in which she's like a significant character in the Mandalorian arcs of the show. So Bogitanos is, of course, played by Katie Sackhoff, which I like. Like, this is, like, you know, one of the biggest surprises and my greatest satisfaction in seeing Katie Sackhoff playing her character in a live action role, you know, since she, you know, played her as the voice of the character for both Clone Wars and Rebels.
So was her character, like, modeled after her voice actress, or was it just, like, did she happen to kind of closely resemble the original character? Because, like,
she, like, when I first saw, like, this was like years and years ago, and, like, when I first saw her, like, without the helmet in the cartoon series, like, I was talking to myself, hey, she looks kind of like, you know, her regular voice actress. And I thought to myself, like, there's no way that they're gonna actually bring her in, you know, as a live action role, like, ever, just because it was an animated show. But then, like, when the Mandalorian got announced, it's like, hey, what if they, you know, suddenly brought Katie Sackhoff into the show? Like, I was speculating at that point, and, like, when I heard that they were gonna bring her on, it's like, there was no way. And then they finally actually brought her into the show as her character, and I was, like, freaking out at that point.
Yeah, because that's what I thought, because I'm like, either that's, like, really good casting, or, like, the original character just, like, was supposed to look like her voice actress. So but yeah, like, I liked her character from what I saw of her character in this episode. Like, she was pretty interesting. Obviously, like I said, I don't know too much about her, but, like, yeah, I liked her character in this episode. And then, of course, when her and the other Mandalorian showed up, like, that's where the episode really picked up, because, you know, they because, of course, as we know, Mandalorian wants to deliver the child. Well, they do end up retrieving the child from the creature. The child's, like, thing he sits in is damaged, but he's okay. but yeah, like of course, like they say that they can lead Mando to the Jedi because he wants to, like, of course his mission is trying to get the child to the Jedi. But of course, as is typical with this show, they want him to help them with something before they tell him where he can find the Jedi, which so happens to be they want to before this even happens, like, I guess, like, the Mandalorian isn't necessarily, like, convinced. I think, I don't remember what, like, as somebody else pointed out, like, that he might not have been convinced they were actually Mandalorian or whatever, because I guess they were taking off their helmets. So he, like, flies off. I think they kind of go over a little bit about, like, like, the difference of, like, where he, like, his faction within the Mandalorians and, like, where they come from. Like, he's from something called the Watch, and apparently the Watch, I guess, is a more religious or zealous faction of the Mandalorians, and they are, like, more strict with their beliefs, such as, like, them just wearing their helmets all the time and never taking off their helmets. So they kind of expand a little bit on that, which I actually did like, because, like, apparently that was something that I was a little bit confused about as well, because, like, I see the Bo-Katan and the other characters in this episode kind of taking off their helmets whenever they want to, whereas Mando, he's strictly just pretty much never wants to be seen without his helmet on.
Yeah, because that really confused me when I first saw the Mandalorian, just, like, refusing to take off his helmet, because, like, I thought to myself, because the Mandalorians in the Clone Wars, like, freely took off their helmets whenever they wanted to, even in their free time. But then, like, Mando is just, like, so insistent in keeping his helmet on in front of everyone else. So that I'm glad they finally, like, addressed that, sort of like plot hole.
I should also mention, we do see, like, this mysterious hooded figure at the beginning of this episode too. I'm not really sure who she's supposed to be, but I assume that she might be someone important as well. But, like, she just stands there and then disappears. So I don't know who she...
Oh yeah, she's the Mandalorian in this episode.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's one of the Mandalorians in this episode.
I didn't even. Yeah, I thought it might have been somebody else.
Initially, like, I thought, that it was, like, some kind of Jedi or some
just
kind
the
of
way she was dressed.
Yeah, but it's finally revealed in this episode that hooded figure was actually one of the Mandalorians working with Bo-Katan.
Yeah.
And of course, like, for pro wrestling fans out there, like, of course, the character
Sasha
playing
Banks,
that Mandalorian is, of course, Sasha Banks, who's, like I said, she's a WWE superstar in WWE right now. So it was surprising that that she got casted into this role in, I guess, maybe in a cameo role. But yeah, she did her part really well in this show. So so Mando asks, like, if he can have, like, Mandalorians help him find the Jedi, but of course, like you said, Bo-Katan asks him for a favor by raiding an Imperial Gazanti cruiser to help them in their quest to retake Mandalore.
Yeah. Apparently he didn't, he like I said, he just kind of, I guess, at least initially refuses this and flies off, and later on he's ambushed by I guess the brother of the, I don't know what their race was called again, like the Quarren. Yeah, like the Quarren. They think he killed him, but of course Mando is like, it wasn't me. And then that's when Bo-Katan shows up and he says, I did it, and of course a gunfight ensues, and they agree to. Mando agrees to like kind of talk with them over drinks, and of course, and it kind of ends up agreeing to helping them out with taking back these weapons that the Imperials are trying to get off the planet. So that's kind of where the main plot of this episode, I guess, them trying to get onto this Imperial ship and take the weapons. Yeah, and of course we do have like an amazing action sequence like inside the cruiser, in which like literally all four Mandalorians just like
pretty much wreck the stormtroopers inside, like in, you know, convincing fashion.
I like that we got to see the Imperials again, because like I feel like I like that, you know, they're actually showing the Empire, you know, the stormtroopers still in their old stormtrooper armor. And, you know, I'm guessing you could technically say this is like, because in the EU it's known as the Imperial Remnant, but it seems like the Imperials kind of function that way in Mandalorian, where they're just kind of scattered around. And, you know, they're still around, but they don't necessarily like function as a completely like organized army or anything like that. But yeah, like, yeah, the fight scene, the fight scene in this episode, the action scenes were just really great. Like the gunfights with the stormtroopers, and just the whole scene where they're on the spaceship fighting the stormtroopers, and then we have like, I guess, one of the Moffs who's in command of the ship, and we end up seeing like a hologram of Moff Gideon again, where he's, you know, asking about the status of what's going on, because he's trying to, like, the Moff is trying to report an emergency, and Gideon basically says, you know, like, that apparently the ship is beyond help, and I guess they decide they need to basically destroy the ship at that point. So yeah, that's the only time we really see Moff Gideon so far in this season. But I anticipate, of course, he's probably going to show up later on in season 2.
I remember that Imperial captain from somewhere. I know his face. I can't remember his name. I seen him from another show or movie somewhere.
I'm not sure. I didn't really recognize.
I think it's. Yeah, I think I remember him from somewhere. If someone can put him in the comments, like, please do. But yeah, of course, like. The initial plan was Mando thought that they were going to recover the weapons, but then Bo-Katan suggested that they take over the entire ship, which doesn't sit well with Mando. And of course, Bo-Katan mentions to Mando that she's trying to recover something that was taken from her, which, of course, as we know, is the Darksaber that Moff Gideon is currently in possession of.
Yeah, so she's going after the Darksaber. So maybe that'll be like her plot in this season if they go back to her, like where she's trying to go after Moff Gideon.
Yeah, and then of course Moff Gideon is alive and still in possession of it. Though I'm not really sure if Mando is aware that Moff Gideon is alive, because I guess he still thinks that he killed him at that last episode by blowing up his TIE fighter.
I mean, I anticipate that Bo-Katan and Mando's paths are probably going to cross again eventually, and then it'll probably, you know, go back to Moff Gideon. Them maybe going up against Moff Gideon, and then of course Mando will realize, yeah, he's not dead.
Yeah. So so like you said, the captain of the ship is trying to scuttle the ship, and then there was like one great action sequence. It's like where the Mando just like literally charged through a hallway, literally taking dozens and dozens of laser shots just to try to throw grenades at the stormtroopers in front of them. And it's like, had it not been for that Beskar armor, like, Mando should be dead like 10 times over in this show. Yeah,
it seems to protect him from quite a bit, especially even Acid.
I mean, like, yeah, I mean, it's like that best, like, this is the most overpowered I've ever seen, you know, the Mandalorian's Beskar armor like work, because like I seen him take shot, you know, like one shot after another, but like Mando just like literally took a dozen shots, like literally in front of him. It's like no wonder that guy in the beginning was trying to steal his Beskar armor. Because like I said, like the Beskar is like basically used as currency, you know, throughout the entire galaxy, and of course the Mandalorians are trying to take it all back because, you know, all of their, like, you know, all their weapons, all of their armor, their Beskar has been wrongly taken from them by the Empire. So now they're trying. Now, pretty much this episode is basically just starting to build up like the Mandalorians' like quest to retake their home world from the Empire. Yeah, I like how the Moff just like he didn't even give a fuck. He just killed like two of the officers that were with him too when he was about to like crash the ship. Yeah. Fortunately, the Mandalorians do manage to stop him from scuttling the ship, and then, of course, Bo-Katan tries to interrogate him and trying to locate the Darksaber. But unfortunately, like he kills himself by using like some kind of like electric suicide pill that he had in his mouth.
I thought that was supposed to be like some sort of like cyanide capsule, but an electric thing he can bite down on and kill himself with.
Yeah, but you know, but like I said, he does kill himself, and then that's pretty much where that where it ends between Bo-Katan and the Mandalorian. So Bo-Katan still gives him the offer to help him in their quest to retake Mandalore, but of course Mando still has his own mission trying to locate the Jedi. So Bo-Katan mentions that the one Jedi that she knows of is of course Ahsoka Tano, which he will find in a forest planet called Corvus. That's where he's going in the next episode.
And it makes sense that she would lead him in the direction of Ahsoka, considering she was, as far as I know, like she was friends with her in the Clone Wars and possibly Rebels, I guess.
Yeah, because Ahsoka Tano is like one of the major characters who who was one of the major players who helped Bo-Katan retake Mandalore against Darth Maul at the end of season 7 earlier this year. So it makes sense that Bo-Katan has such a more familiar relationship with her compared to all the other Jedi. However, technically Ahsoka's not technically a Jedi because she left the Jedi Order because she was framed for a crime she didn't commit, and then she was just booted out of the order. And I think
it's very I think it's very unlikely for this to happen, but I mean, you would okay, how long again was this after Return of the Jedi, the Mandalorian?
This is 5 years after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, I guess maybe. Well, I don't know. I would think at this point maybe word had spread about Luke Skywalker being the hero of the guy who kind of helped save the galaxy or whatever. Maybe you'd think that maybe she would have known about him as well, but I don't know. I don't anticipate. Like I said, I don't of course anticipate him showing up in this series. But
even if Bo-Katan knew who Luke Skywalker was, she never really met Luke Skywalker in person, as far as I know, in story wise. It's just the only Jedi she knows who's alive at this moment is Ahsoka Tano.
I just feel I think if they really wanted to really get fans excited, that would be the major thing. If we did eventually maybe see a cameo, Mark Hamill Luke Skywalker or something just shows up, that would be awesome. But
that's a hard pill for me to swallow due to the fact that how old Mark Hamill is at this point.
They would definitely, that's true. They would good point. Yeah, they would have to either do some de-aging or they would have to have somebody else come in as Luke.
Yeah, I mean the one other explanation I can point out to is Mark Hamill not Mark Hamill. Luke Skywalker would pretty much be working with a New Republic, and as we all know, what happened in the last episode, Mando's not in good footing with the New Republic
unless they go to somebody else's perspective, or somebody else talks to Luke. I don't know. I mean, I could see there being different ways for them to introduce him in the series, but like I said, I find it unlikely that it would happen. But it just makes sense in a storyline perspective that Bo-Katan leads Mando to Ahsoka Tano, because like I said, she's the only significant Jedi that she knows personally, since like I said, she helped Ahsoka helped Bo-Katan in her fight against Darth Maul to retake Mandalore initially. Yeah, so that pretty much ends up being Mando's next destination is this forest planet that Ahsoka Tano is apparently on. However, I don't anticipate it being as easy as him just getting to the planet and meeting up with her. So we find out the Calamari they did kind of repair his ship, but it still is not flying, not totally repaired. They didn't do the best job, I guess, because the ship is still kind of
I mean, the guy got paid only 1,000 credits.
Mando was I paid you 1,000 credits and this is the best you can do.
I mean, it's whatever he can whatever that mechanic came up with, just to strap that thing with rope and whatever the hell he put in there,
like some kind of some alien thing on the ship too. Like there was something like I don't know what that was supposed to be. It reminded me of like one of the face huggers from Alien. I was like thinking that was about to happen when like it looked at Baby Yoda. I was like, is it about to like? And of course it jumps on his face, or it tries to at least. But yeah, Mando gets it, and Baby Yoda ends up eating it.
Yeah, and then of course, Mando's next destination is this forest planet of Corvus, which supposedly he will try to find Ahsoka Tano if she is going to make an appearance, which I really hope she does. So, but yeah, I thought this is definitely one of the best episodes of the season so far. Yeah. I'm sure it'll definitely get better, like and maybe later on in the show once Ahsoka makes her appearance.
Yeah, I do hope that of course Boba Fett's going to show up again and try to come back for his armor. Because like I said, I don't think it's going to be as easy as the Mandalorian just kind of going to meet up with Ahsoka. I think there's probably going to be some obstacles, of course, as usual, that he's going to end up having to deal with. I think having Boba show up maybe in the next one would be a good idea to have, maybe have them fight or something. But who knows what will happen.
Yeah, and not to mention that there was that rumored Boba Fett show that they're planning on making with Temuera Morrison. Yeah. So that's kind of the likely scenario. That's where it's going.
Yeah. So I guess the movie they were planning with Boba Fett is gonna, I guess, be turned into a show instead, which I'm honestly fine with. I don't know if the show. I mean, I guess it's too early to tell, but I kind of hope the show isn't just going to be another like. Kind of like a Mandalorian, like kind of like really similar to the Mandalorian. I hope it's different enough at least, but who knows. But yeah, this episode was really good. Probably my favorite so far. Like the action scenes are great, and there actually was a pretty decent plot progression. Even though I do kind of understand people's complaints about a lot of the parts of the show being sort of like a side quest, it seems, where like Mando has to go do something for somebody else, and then he can go back to the main quest, and then he has to go do something else, and then he can, and then that gives him some little bit of information for him to go back to the main, what is technically the main quest. It kind of feels that way, so I can kind of see that complaint, but I don't really have so much of a problem with it. I think that's fine. I do kind of wish that they focused a little bit more on the overarching plot, but I think they're probably going to do that near the end of this season, kind of like how they did near the end of the first season, where it started to focus on like the main plot more. I think it's probably going to happen the same way in this one.
Yeah, what I'm definitely excited for is like that they're eventually going to go back to Mandalore and retake that planet, because that's the one thing that I've been anticipating for a long time. It seems
like people were saying that there might be another like war for like Mandalorian war or something like that. That would be interesting if that happened.
Yeah, and they confirmed that there is going to be a season 3 for the show. So it looks like maybe that they're right now for this season, Mando's mission is going to try to find the Jedi, and then probably by the next season they'll finally get into the Mandalorian war against the Empire.
Yeah, that would be an interesting plot line to go through. I know they did it in Clone Wars, but like I haven't seen Clone Wars, so I guess it would be interesting to see it happen in Mandalorian. Yeah, I don't really have too much else to say about this one. It was definitely really good. It was like I said, it was my favorite so far. So hopefully there's either we see Ahsoka in the next episode, or I guess something else could happen, and I mean, yeah,
either my guess, it's maybe she will appear in next week's episode, or maybe in the week after, because I looked at the directorial list, and Dave Filoni's directing the episode after next week, so it's possible that Ahsoka might make her first appearance there, or maybe she might make a small short appearance cameo in the next episode and make her full appearance in the next one. I'm not sure, but
I mean that might be a pretty good hint if Dave Filoni is directing it, since this is Dave Filoni's character. But yeah, I don't really have too much else to say about it. definitely best episode so far. Although I'm pretty sure that maybe the one where Ahsoka shows up, people might say that's probably going to be the best one, but I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah. People like, we're gonna have a lot of Star Wars fans like freaking out about that. In the next
I will
several
say, like,
episodes.
This is my favorite thing I've seen from Disney Star Wars. Honestly, like it's gotten me a little bit more enthusiastic about the franchise again, and I kind of just hope that anything else we see come out of Star Wars is, if it's anything like this, I probably enjoy it. Not to say I want it to be exactly like Mandalorian, but I want it to, do what the Mandalorian is doing right, such as like more world building, like us finding out what happened after the events of Return of the Jedi, to maybe some of the more minor characters, and just building on the world and on some of the things that are happening in the background. I think Mandalorian does that pretty well.
It definitely has, like, because the episodic format gives it much more leeway, and like you said, in the world building, but also like in its storytelling as well, trying to build up on a much larger storyline, which I'm assuming, like, thanks to this episode, we are more than likely gonna build up to the in the war in Mandalore, hopefully. Yeah, and it also just has likable characters and feels like there are actually stakes, like people can get hurt or die or something, and the villains are, the villains are evil and they do evil things, which is to be expected. So it's like all the stuff I like out of Star Wars, I'm seeing it with Mandalorian, which is like one of the many reasons I actually enjoy watching it. But yeah, I don't really, like I said, I don't have much else to say about this episode in particular. I don't know if you have anything else to add. No, I mean, I'm definitely anticipating the next episode. Hopefully, we will get to see Ahsoka Tano in the next episode, or maybe in the next episode after that. I'm not really sure, but I think the next episode is going to be directed by. Trying to look for the list here again. The next episode is going to be directed by Carl Weathers, who is of course.
Oh yeah. I forgot what his character's name was.
Grief Karga. So. Yeah, so he's directing the next episode. So I'm curious, like, how he's gonna do directing wise, for the next episode.
I didn't even know he was a director. Like, I know he's an actor, but I didn't know he was a.
Yeah. Some of the actors in the show have done some directorial work from time to time. Not full time, but sometimes, like, directorial work on a handful of episodes.
Yeah, but that all being said, I guess until next Friday, we will see you all next time.